What if the future of food had almost nothing to do with farms? What if milk could be produced without cows? What if meat could be grown without raising an animal? And what if crops could obtain much of the nitrogen they need without depending so heavily on industrial fertilizer? This may sound like science fiction, but scientists are already learning how to program living organisms. And if synthetic biology reaches its full potential, the global food system could be redesigned from the DNA up. For thousands of years, agriculture has followed a remarkably simple formula. Plant seeds. Provide water. Add nutrients. Raise animals. Harvest the result. But synthetic biology introduces a completely different idea. Instead of simply growing organisms, we can begin modifying the biological instructions that control them. DNA contains information. And modern biotechnology allows scientists to edit, insert, remove, and regulate genetic instructions. In other words, biology is becoming increasingly programmable. And living cells can become microscopic factories. Consider milk. Traditional dairy production requires cows to consume food and water, occupy land, and produce milk through their natural biology. But what if we separate the milk proteins from the animal? Scientists can engineer microorganisms such as yeast to produce specific dairy proteins. The yeast doesn't become a cow. Instead, it becomes a microscopic manufacturing system. Inside a controlled fermentation tank, engineered microorganisms receive nutrients and produce proteins such as casein or whey. Those proteins can then become ingredients for dairy products. The animal is no longer the factory. The microorganism is. Now imagine scaling that process. Instead of enormous dairy farms covering huge areas of land, food companies could operate fermentation facilities filled with stainless steel tanks. The production process could be carefully controlled. Temperature, nutrients, microbial growth, protein production. Everything could be monitored and optimized. And this changes the fundamental question. Instead of asking how we can raise more animals, we could ask how efficiently we can program microorganisms to manufacture nutrition. But milk is only one possibility. The same philosophy is already being applied to the search for alternatives to conventional meat production. Traditional livestock requires an entire animal. But meat itself is made from biological components. Proteins, fats, water, minerals, and cells. Cultivated meat attempts to grow animal cells under controlled conditions, rather than growing an entire animal first. Other technologies use microorganisms and plants to produce proteins and ingredients that can recreate the taste, texture, and nutritional characteristics people expect from meat. In the future, some food facilities could look less like farms and more like breweries combined with advanced laboratories. But there is an important catch. Replacing animals with bioreactors doesn't automatically make food production environmentally harmless. Those facilities still require energy. They require raw materials. They require infrastructure. And if the energy comes from fossil fuels, part of the environmental burden simply moves somewhere else. So the real promise of synthetic biology isn't just producing food differently. It is producing food more efficiently. Using less land. Potentially using less water. Reducing waste. And eventually combining biological production with renewable energy and highly controlled manufacturing systems. Then there is another enormous challenge. Nitrogen. Plants need nitrogen to grow. Modern agriculture supplies huge quantities through synthetic fertilizers. But producing and applying these fertilizers consumes resources, while excessive fertilizer use can contribute to pollution and environmental damage. Nature already has a remarkable solution. Certain bacteria can convert atmospheric nitrogen into forms that plants can use. Scientists are investigating ways to improve these biological relationships and make nitrogen acquisition more efficient in important crops. Imagine crops that could obtain much more of their nitrogen through biology itself. The field would no longer depend entirely on external fertilizer. Now combine all of these technologies. engineered crops, beneficial microorganisms, fermentation systems, cultivated animal cells, artificial intelligence, automated agriculture. Suddenly, the traditional food system begins to look very different. A farm may no longer be the only place where food is produced. A regional facility could manufacture proteins close to a city. A controlled fermentation system could continuously produce food ingredients. And advanced crops could potentially require fewer external inputs. Food production could become increasingly precise. Not simply growing whatever nature allows, but designing biological systems to produce exactly what we need. But every powerful technology creates new risks. The more we manipulate biology, the more carefully we must control it. What happens if engineered organisms escape controlled environments? What happens when modified organisms interact with ecosystems in ways scientists didn't predict? And who owns the biological technology behind the food we eat? If a small number of companies control the most advanced genetic platforms, engineered organisms, and production systems, the food supply could become more technologically dependent than ever before. There is also a deeper problem. Biology isn't ordinary computer software. Living systems evolve. They interact. They adapt. And sometimes, they surprise us. That means the future of synthetic food won't depend only on what scientists can create. It will depend on what society is willing to accept. Consumers will ask whether laboratory-produced food is safe. Governments will decide how engineered organisms are regulated. Farmers will need to adapt to technologies that could change traditional agriculture. And scientists will have to prove that biological innovations remain safe beyond the laboratory. The technology may be powerful. But power without careful control can create consequences nobody intended. Yet the potential is enormous. Imagine producing protein while using dramatically less land. Imagine reducing pressure on forests. Imagine crops that need fewer external nutrients. Imagine cities supplied partly by regional biological manufacturing facilities. And imagine a world where food production becomes less dependent on climate, geography, and massive livestock populations. For the first time in human history, we may be moving from simply cultivating life to deliberately programming it. The agricultural revolution taught humanity how to control food production. The Industrial Revolution taught us how to mechanize it. And synthetic biology could teach us how to redesign it. The future of food may not simply be grown. It may be engineered.